Today we're going to talk about if you should pay off your mortgage early. That's a smart move or not. And it's funny, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine 2 weeks ago, and we were kind of just talking about the opportunity in front of us. Like, I personally think this is going to be a big wealth building moment. And so I've been asking friends, like, hey, what do you see? What are you thinking about doing? And my friend's response, which kind of threw me off, he was like, well, I'm actually going to put all my money towards paying off my loan on my house. And I was like, really? Okay, why is that? And we just ended up having a really good conversation, and it just made me think, man, I wish we could capture this, because I think there's a lot of people, especially in times of uncertainty, that think that this could be a good move in paying off their loan. So today we're going to talk about the pros and cons to it, and ultimately, I'm hoping to leave everyone with more questions to ask so that we could all come up with the best solution moving forward. But before we go into it, I'm going to ask for our shameless plug. If you guys could follow and like, it's huge for us, truthfully. It really helps us get this content out there, and we really believe that it's valuable and can help a lot of people. So just that small act of even hitting the like button, it's huge for us. So thank you guys, and we really appreciate it. So when I was talking to my friend, his main, not concern, but I guess desire in paying off his mortgage early was he wanted to free up cash flow, free up expenses. And he was like, look, dude, if I could not have to pay let's just call it $2,000 a month, dude, that's huge. Which is true, but I do want to get back to that, even though that was his main concern, because I actually think the biggest argument in paying off your mortgage early is the interest saved. So if you have a 30-year loan as opposed to a 15-year loan, you're paying more interest over the longer amount of time. So I think it's easy for us to go, dude, if I pay it off early, I might save, dude, maybe $100,000, maybe more. But a lot of times we're only looking at a small part of the bigger picture conversation. And what I think everyone needs to look at is the opportunity cost. And the opportunity cost is there an investment out there that I can earn more money than what I can earn by paying off my mortgage early? So let's use the example of I think it's realistic to say people are paying 3% on their loans right now. So if you're paying 3% on your loan, the question you ask is there a better investment out there that can earn me more than 3%? Because by paying off my mortgage early, I am saving or making 3%. So is there something out there greater that can earn me more? That might be a better use of my capital. To add to it, and I don't know why I forgot about this one, you can deduct a part of your interest. So on a primary, it's I think $750,000. So if you're paying 3% on your debt, and I guess let's consider you're in the 22% tax bracket. I think that's what most people are in. You can subtract 22% from the 3% you're paying, which will give you your effective interest rate. And what is that? I don't know. A little over 2%, maybe 2.2, 2.3%. So the real question becomes, is there an investment out there that can earn me more than 2.3%? And I believe there is. I mean, if you want to look at from like a cash in, cash out basis, what type of dividends out there are companies paying or funds paying? And can they earn me more than 2 or 3%? If you look at maybe real estate, like what we do, we target a 15% IRR. That's for us to see or move forward on a deal. We want to have the ability to make that for an investor. So, I mean, dude, now you're talking about a way larger return on a different investment. So I think from an opportunity cost standpoint, you have to consider what else is out there. Now, not everybody looks at, how would you say this? Not everybody looks at the best use of capital or what other investments are there. Some people might just say, hey, you know what? You're right, but I'm not going to put that money towards investments. I'm most likely going to spend that money. So by me paying off my mortgage early, it's saving money and acting as kind of a savings account for me. If you're that type of person, then that's a valid point, and you should pay off your mortgage early. But I think if we're having a conversation around the best use of capital, I think there's investments out there that you can earn more than just paying off your mortgage. Another thing to consider is we have this idea, or we're kind of told that owning a home is kind of a great investment, or sometimes your best investment. And because of that, you see a lot of people put all of their money into their home. So there's the quote, I guess, you don't want to be house rich but investment poor, right? You don't want to put all of your money into your home. And we know this, I guess from investment terms, it's called diversification. If you're a skater, we know this when it comes to sponsors. You don't want to be sponsored by a company that participates in every category. So you don't want your clothing sponsor, your shoe sponsor, your skateboard sponsor to be one company, because if they let you go, you've just lost all of your sponsors and all of your income because one person let you go. Same thing applies with investments. You don't want all of your money in one thing, because if something happens to that one thing, it's devastating. Where when you're spread out and diversified and something doesn't go according to plan, which we know happens frequently, it doesn't have a big effect on the total picture. So I think it's important to not put all of your eggs in one basket. Another thing to consider is inflation. We know that each year, due to inflation, our dollar becomes less valuable, or its purchasing power isn't as strong. So I think one thing to consider is when you have a fixed rate that you're paying, and the more time that goes by, you're paying it back with money that's not worth as much. So I like the idea that if your loan is stretched out, you're paying your loan back with money that's not worth as much, where if you're paying it off sooner, you're paying it with more valuable currency. So I think that's maybe something to consider as well. So to bring up my buddy's original point about wanting to cut back expenses, or he didn't want as much money coming out each month, and by paying off his mortgage, he no longer have to make a mortgage payment. And I totally understand that one. That is something that, like, when I first got my house, I felt that as well. Like, gosh, it'd be nice to just pay this thing off, and I no longer have to spend money on my living or cost of living. And at least what changed my perspective of this conversation was Robert Kiyosaki, or the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he was the first one that I at least heard talking about assets and liabilities, and including your primary home as a liability, and kind of how he separates the two. Assets are things that put money into your pocket every month. Liabilities are things that take money out of your pocket each month. And for a home, which when I was young, I always thought was a great investment, well, I'm paying that thing every single month. That thing is not paying me. So that was the first time where I went, maybe I should look at other investments that are just paying me. And then it changed my perspective of how I get to not having to pay money towards a mortgage or a rent, where my friend was looking at it as, I'm just gonna pay off my mortgage so I don't have to do that. What changed in me is I started looking at what assets would pay me, and then I could use that money to then pay my cost of living, and then other aspects of my lifestyle, so that eventually all of my expenses are covered by assets that are paying me monthly. With all that said, and I definitely lean more towards not paying it off early, at least how I look at the big picture, I went over to my dad's house a few days ago, and my dad's always watching our videos. He's like, I mean, thankfully, he's always been like just a huge supporter in everything I'm doing. And so every time I see him, he brings up a past video we do. Hey, I saw this video, this is really cool. And he was like, what are you guys working on next? And I told him about this video. Oh, we're gonna do a video on paying off your mortgage early, and if you should do it. And he's like, okay. And he's like, well, what are you gonna say? And I went through all of this, right? Well, I don't think you should because of opportunity cost, and having all your eggs in one basket, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, okay, well, can I offer a different opinion? And I was like, okay. And my dad goes, you know what? There's something about being debt-free and not owing anything on your home that is freeing. I can't explain it. It just is. And basically what happened was When we did St. Archer, and my dad being a huge supporter, he invested. He helped us out. And when we sold St. Archer, he made a big return off his money, and part of that money he used to pay off his house. So my dad, for the last 4 years, hasn't had a mortgage payment. And my dad is older, so this is kind of something to add. He's in his mid-60s. But what he said was, dude, when I paid off that house, I experienced something that I just didn't really realize was a thing, where I really enjoy the feeling of not having to worry about my mortgage payment. Like it really is comforting. And then moving into the environment we're in now, which is kind of the COVID era, his business was impacted. He's a photographer. And so he was like, dude, I'll tell you, man, like going through this whole moment and not having a house payment, like I don't know if I would have made the decisions I made if I would have had a mortgage payment. I think I'd be more concerned and worried right now. So my dad did leave me something very valuable. I think this all comes down to your personal goals. And for me personally, I like looking at what is the best use of my capital? How do I grow my capital? Other people, they don't want to worry about other investments and taking on risk, and my dad being one of them. He's like, dude, I'm at a time in my life, man, like I don't want to worry about that. Like I just want to like do my thing. And so I think being aware of what your personal goal is and then finding the strategy that best fits you is the way to go. And so I'm going to close this by saying there's not a right or wrong here. It really comes down to what you're looking for, and then acting on whatever that goal is. So that's my thought. Again, we appreciate all of you just participating in this content, all the comments, all of the new people following us. We are incredibly thankful for you, and we will see you guys on the next video.